Why does every guy cheat on you? Trust me, I know. How come girls always call you their friend? I can tell you. We'll talk about your strengths and we'll talk about emotions. Secrets of Birthdays, now live for purchase. Check out yours at secretsofbirthdays.com. Namaste, and welcome to Soul Horoscopes Orbits Edition from my webcam to yours. I'm Christopher Rayman Witecki, your astrologer and soul biographer, here to help you put the pieces of your karmic story together. Well, the sun is in Libra. In fact, we're about halfway through the Libra transit. We'll move from step 13 to step 19 this week. We're focusing on human relations with the sun in Libra, our own relationship to ourselves. We're trying to negotiate peace, and we're stuck in a grand square. But we'll make some progress this week with that grand cross. Emotionally, it's pretty intense. It starts in Scorpio, then we have Love Fest on Tuesday with the moon in Sagittarius. Then it gets really serious again for 2 days in Capricorn. We got to make some serious decisions. Then we're thinking about the future or feeling about the future this weekend. The moon signs most affected are Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius. And the moon signs going to the dark side this week are Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo. Now looking at orbits, man, how our own chakras are affected. The moon, of course, is going to affect mostly the throat chakra this week. That's bringing yellow light to the blue light. It also goes up into the third eye, and don't be surprised if you don't have some crazy dreams. The sun is orbiting our throat chakra as well. So literally, we're getting things all around the throat, all around protection, all around that kind of feeling of choking us up, right? And then Mars is causing heartache to some degree because it's orbiting the heart chakra. So if there's any kind of heart loss, it's a bit more painful than usual right now. Looking at the planets, that trine from Black Lilith up to Saturn means that as you take responsibility and draw emotional boundaries with yourself, you will immediately see old karma cut away thanks to Black Lilith. And Black Lilith moves to step 13 this week, which means we're seeing a whole new reality. Now with the Grand Cross or Grand Square, it will begin to shake loose just a little bit. The sun is out of Black Lilith's grasp, but now is in the grasp of Jupiter. And then at the end of the week, we're going to see the Grand Cross hit kind of a climax. And then, of course, the Grand Trine with Black Lilith, which is saying as you draw emotional boundaries with yourself, you cut away from negative karma, and you move on to your spiritual path, which is a good thing. Zooming in, there's a party going on in Scorpio. Mercury has now joined the Scorpio party. The moon crosses this party this week, and of course, Venus is at the top. So we are focusing on the small details of trust, being responsible on the mid details of trust, and dreaming about the high details of trust. And of course, I'll have all those details of trust when you get upstairs. But before we talk about you, let's grab the Ascension elevator, shall we? And head on upstairs for a bird's eye view of you.
Folks, this is your captain speaking. We realize you have a choice in the astrologers you choose to fly with, and we'd just like to thank you for flying with Christopher Witecki.
Namaste, Leos and Leo risings, Your Royal Majesty, and welcome to 33,000 feet. First class, I must say. That's the only way to fly when you're royalty. And we are working on our attitudes this month. In fact, we're moving into chapter 2 of Sun in Libra. And attitudes and thoughts make a big, big difference in a Leo or Leo rising's life. You either think you are royalty or you don't think like royalty. And you may not know what I'm talking about. It may not be what you think. In essence, are your thoughts aligned with your heart? I mean, Leos are ruled by the heart. The sun is the heart. And so the real question is, are you and are your thoughts ruled by your heart? Who rules what? Does Mercury rotate around the sun, or is the sun rotating around Mercury? And if you are chasing after your thoughts, the sun is rotating around Mercury. So this is going to be a profound change. I really think that in this next week, it's a very subtle and quiet, especially with Leos and Leo risings, it's a very quiet change of mind. But that quiet change of mind can lead to profound change in belief, and as you're going to see, profound change of inner faith, and you'll see results and changes in your daily life. That's what I'm throwing out there. All from changing your mind, believe it or not. So as we start off this week, we're moving into chapter 1 to chapter 2, moving out of thoughts, moving out of negative thinking, moving out of mind games, and into comparison. Once your thoughts are clean and there's only loving thoughts in there, we work on how we compare things, the way you compare things, and are there prejudice in your comparisons when you're out there doing things. And so by comparison, we lead to an overall attitude. Thinking is so important. They say in The Secret, thoughts become things. It's not quite that literal, but thoughts do inevitably become things down the pipeline. So if your thoughts are incorrectly pointing in the wrong direction, in other words, away from what your heart desires instead of toward what your heart desires, life can be quite miserable. So this week the sun moves through a breakthrough idea Saturday and Sunday to taking action on those breakthrough ideas the following week. And these ideas can be anywhere: personal dream, love affair, career, anything. It's the ideas, but it's more about the way your thoughts operate and the way you operate in your thoughts. Now, a big part of the story is Saturn in Scorpio. And this is the part that is probably the hardest for the Leos, because you have to be very strong for yourself. And thoughts do turn to emotions this week. Mercury moves into Scorpio, and so you're doing a lot of thinking about home and family. You're doing a lot of thinking about your emotional security. You don't want to go backwards. So no, you cannot, live with the old roommate. You cannot move into the old emotional home you lived in growing up. You cannot live in that emotional castle anymore. Saturn is saying, in fact, if you refuse to live in that emotional castle, you'll find that you begin to heal now, maybe for the first time since childhood or for the first time since 1983. All right, with Saturn. So finally healing those emotional patterns. But thoughts are very much on emotions. Thoughts are very much focused on that. And Venus is really planting the seeds to the perfect castle, the perfect royal life. And it's going to take a while, till 2015, to completely get there. So be patient with yourself, Your Majesty. And then lastly, Jupiter in Cancer. This is a toughie. This is the one pushing for greater inner faith. Now, the good news is Black Lilith says the past is dead. If you've done your soul work, Leos and Leo risings no longer have emotional karmic ties to past life situations, or at least a whole slew of them is gone, the heavy ones, hopefully. So you're stepping into a karma-free inner faith, which might feel completely foreign to you. And you're having to challenge the very top ceiling of your faith with Jupiter 1819. So on the one hand, you're breaking ground in a brand new faith. On the other hand, you're breaking ground with just not having problems. What a concept. Now, looking at this week, when it comes to faith, Jupiter, well, like I said, all week long, you're pretty much going to be pushing that envelope of higher faith. Everything you're doing on the planet is going to push the envelope of higher faith. And so you want to love and trust and be very committed to what you do have faith in and go from there. Also, don't step into the past. Saturn in Scorpio, which I kind of already covered, is loving and trusting and not allowing yourself to slip into the old emotional home and family where you grew up emotionally. And Uranus at 10 degrees retrograde says there's no belief structure changes yet, but recognize there's going to be, especially when Uranus goes direct. So Neptune at 2 degrees retrograde says all week long, be self-compassionate. Whenever you have to open or close a door, be very nice to yourself, be very self-compassionate, and ask for God, universe's advice before you open or close any doors. Now, looking at the first week, or the first day. Sunday is a quantum breakthrough day. I am predicting some sort of big breakthrough with a communication, maybe an email, hearing news that you want to hear. It could be breakthrough in your thinking, but it's profound. Now, the moon is in Scorpio, so whatever you hear or the news that comes, emotions get very intense on that day. And so you are feeling your overall security threatened or not from the breakthrough. So recognize, try to map out where thoughts lead to emotional insecurity and be on top of that. On Monday, you're kind of loving and trusting that everything will be okay with this new information or this new news. It certainly does disrupt the balance between your mind and your beliefs, or your mind and your experience, what experience tells you, which is beliefs basically. But on Monday, you're loving and trusting and really nesting and resting. So Monday is almost like a third weekend day that the royalty needed. On Tuesday, it's Love Fest Day, and this is a great Love Fest Day, Your Majesty. It is the most powerful Love Fest Day of the year for you. Venus is in Sagittarius, so your inner child, which is the core of a Leo, or a Leo rising too, very much so. You're talking to a Leo rising here. Our inner child is very Sagittarius, and so this Love Fest Day should feel fabulous. Hey, come on down to soulgarden.me, by the way, if you want to get some love festivities. But on Tuesday, you're feeling the love, you're sunny and childlike, and this is a good day to create peace. You can move forward with a new idea, move forward with a new message. move forward with anything that your heart wants, any kind of creative project. Hey, note to self, I'm going to write my creative projects on Love Fest Day. I'm going to set that day aside and write, because it'd be great if you're a writer. On Wednesday, it's kind of cloudy. Your inner child wants to play, but the universe isn't really playing along. So it's really about getting quiet with your inner child and asking your inner child what it wants, because that very much sets up the attitude or the message, or remember, does the sun revolve around Mercury? Does Mercury revolve around the sun? Well, on Wednesday, we're asking the sun what it wants so that Mercury can be put in its place, your mind and your thoughts. So listen to that on Wednesday. On Thursday, something will force you to make a decision. The emotions move from inner child to lifestyle. So I'm assuming that the decision you make, it's a mental decision, but I'm imagining it's going to trigger the line between inner faith and reality. It's going to cross that line between Pluto and Black Lilith, and then of course at one point the moon will oppose Jupiter. So you're making a decision on Thursday, and this is a policy to change, really, because again, we're changing the way we think, and so we're technically changing policy and changing what your policy is. So on Thursday, you're making a policy change which will affect your daily lifestyle, which will threaten your inner faith, which will challenge your beliefs. That's Thursday. Fun stuff. Then Friday, you're going to take action and move forward. The moon is in Capricorn, so you're hyper aware really Thursday through Friday. Friday is ruled by Mars, so your mind will be hyperactive. You'll probably be very chatty, want to talk to people and connect to people. And you're going to put out that message. You're going to put out whatever that mind change is. So you are aggressively mindful and hyper aware on Friday. And I imagine lots of Leos will be posted on my Facebook on Friday. Then on Saturday, it is like we almost flip around, and now you're suddenly tested again. For one, you're very sentimental. The moon is in Aquarius, so on Saturday, your emotions are very sensitive to your me-ridge. You're sensitive to how you treat yourself. Remember, your mind better be treating you the way you think you should be treated, or your heart believes it should be treated. So really what happens is the square comes to a head between Jupiter and Cancer, which is focusing on pushing that envelope of higher and greater faith, and your own mind. Your mind and your faith come to a head. Maybe you have to say to yourself, I don't really have faith it's going to work out, or my mind doesn't really logically think it will. And this is really on Saturday a day of disallowing fears to co-trigger between higher faith and thoughts. So if you're worried, don't let that affect your faith. Or if you're having issues connecting to your higher spirit, don't let it affect your attitude. You want to let your mind and your faith and spirit operate separately. Besides, they are separate instruments. They are separate voices. Faith comes from God universe. The mind is logic in what it's seen. That's it. So we don't want those two to be buddies and corrupt in Congress. In our United States of awareness, we want those two congressmen on separate edges of the row. Anyways, but in this particular end of the week, the fears between thoughts and faith will trigger. And you could find yourself going down an unfun mental road if you don't watch yourself. So taking a sneak peek at next week, it really epicenters Wednesday of the following week. Light bulb goes off and you understand what needs to happen next. Friday, Saturday, a full moon, which for Leos and Leo risings will be a tug-of-war between your thoughts and what you believe. And guess who needs to win? You guessed it. Thoughts, actually. Beliefs will be changing. Beliefs are what your heart agrees with. And beliefs are, frankly, in the way of Leos and Leo risings. You have to humbly bow your head and say, I know nothing, and allow yourself to walk through humbly through into the next belief structure. And where your ego needs to take a seat is recognize that your Royal Majesty will be the first to know the new beliefs if your Royal Majesty is the first to admit you know nothing. All right, so I've got a new thing now where basically we float down to Earth, and then I come back with a serious joy toy for you. If you don't know, I started that last week. Your serious joy toy after this. At Solmar.me, we have prices and specials worth jumping for. Like the Guardian Agency, our digital network that'll watch over you through email 7 days a week, 7 times a day. Come join our free open house next week. Just navigate to Solmar.me. While you're there, fill out your date of birth and email address in our custom form, and you'll get 7 days free. No credit card required to sign up. Come on down. And while you're there, you might want to also check out the Orbits Report and Jupiter Gets Emotional. Now just $11.11 for a limited time and for immediate download. at soulmart.me, mind, body, and soul improvement. Parachute not included. Namaste, Leos and Leo risings, and we are now back for the Serious Joy Toy, which is a toy, something to play with in your mind or in your daily life that will help you, coach you, practice. This is about practice makes master. Well, you want to make master? Play with your Serious Joy Toy. Here is last week's. What if every thought that you ever had was on a microphone? I bet you that lasts about 2 seconds, huh? You didn't even play through that past your horoscope. Completely put it down. Didn't do it. Well, unfortunate, Your Majesty, because this week's builds on it. This week, I'd like you to pretend that every thought that you say out loud becomes policy. Everything you say out loud becomes policy. And so I want you to be voting on every policy this week. So if you say to a girlfriend, oh my God, guys always treat me like crap, it is therefore policy, Your Majesty, and therefore it shall be. So pretend all week that every time you actually speak, you're making a speech. So every time you talk to somebody, you're making presidential policy, Your Majesty. So I want you to do that this week. And every time you open your mouth, remember, you're making presidential policy. That's your Serious Joy Toy for the week. All right, my Leos and Leo risings, I love you. Have a great 7 days. Namaste, and live, love, be. Seen all of that? Like you're like a booger thrower? Is what you are? You're one of those?
Mud pies.
Okay, fine. Mud pies, boogers. Pick your goo. But whatever it is, you're a goo thrower. You throw goo at people. I know it. And you know, I know those little goo throwers. They're always cute. And you can see inside their heart is good as they're throwing a spit wad at you. But as the target of the goo throwers, I just have to say, it's not fun on the receiving end.
But we always clean you guys up afterwards. We never leave you high and dry.
Lick you clean.
That's true.
At least I
Strangely
do.
enough, the goo throwers do turn into people that get you high in high school. You're right. You're right. That is an interesting arc of character development in the United States anyway.